Please, Your Majesty.
What?
An emperor loses everything. The Forbidden City opens for the first time, and the director who filmed it broke every rule China ever made. These are 20 secrets about the last emperor hidden for decades. And the bonus? The costume that took 6 months to make and was worn for 30 seconds. Number 20. The door that hadn't opened in 60 years.
That you will be the new lord of 10,000 years. You.
Amo, I'm giving you my son. My son is your son.
Quick! Quick!
Bernardo Bertolucci wasn't supposed to be in the Forbidden City. No Westerner was. For centuries, China's imperial palace had been closed to foreign filmmakers, protected, sacred, untouchable. But in 1984, something impossible happened. The Chinese government said yes, not just to filming outside, but inside. In the actual throne rooms, the emperor's bedchambers, the courtyards where dynasties rose and fell, Bertolucci was the first, and possibly the last. The conditions were brutal. The government assigned monitors to watch every shot. Scripts were reviewed daily. Any scene deemed disrespectful would be cut immediately. Bertolucci agreed to everything, then ignored most of it. He shot what he wanted, apologized later, kept filming before permissions could be revoked. The Chinese officials were furious but trapped. International cameras were watching. Shutting down production would look bad, so they let him continue, seething quietly, documenting every violation. During one scene in the throne room, a room sealed since the last emperor's exile in 1924, Bertolucci opened doors that hadn't moved in 60 years. Dust exploded into the air, the hinges screamed, and inside, untouched history. Furniture positioned exactly as it was the day Puyi left. The crew stood in silence, realizing they were standing where emperors had stood, breathing air that had been trapped for generations. Bertolucci filmed it all, knowing he'd never get this chance again, because some doors close forever. This one opened once, for him, for this film, then sealed again behind them. Number 19. The actor who lived in the Forbidden City.
Amo, I'm giving you my son. My son is your son.
Quick! Quick!
John Lone didn't just play the last emperor, he became him. For months before filming, Lone lived inside the Forbidden City, not in hotels, not in nearby apartments. Inside the actual palace, in rooms designated for cast. The Chinese government granted unprecedented access, believing total immersion would create authenticity. They were right, but it nearly destroyed Lone. Living in that space changed him. The weight of history, the ghosts of 3,000 years of imperial rule, the silence of abandoned power. Lone would walk the corridors at night, alone, trying to understand Puyi's isolation. The emperor had been a prisoner in his own palace, surrounded by luxury but denied freedom. Lone felt that. The palace was beautiful and suffocating simultaneously. He started having nightmares, dreams where he was Puyi, trapped, unable to escape. He'd wake up disoriented, forgetting which century he inhabited. Cast members noticed changes. Lone became withdrawn, distant, speaking less, moving differently, more imperial, less human. Bertolucci encouraged it. The transformation was perfect, but Lone's family worried. They'd visit and find him unreachable, lost in character, unable or unwilling to separate. When filming wrapped, Lone left the Forbidden City, but couldn't leave Puyi behind. For years afterward, he struggled with depression, feeling displaced in modern life. He later said, "Playing the last emperor made him understand what it meant to lose everything, including yourself, and that understanding cost him parts of his own identity he never fully recovered." Number 18. The child emperor who had never acted.
Are we going home, Papa?
Richard Vu played young Puyi, the 3-year-old torn from his mother and crowned emperor. Vu had never acted before, never been on a film set, didn't speak English. He was cast purely for his face his ability to look simultaneously powerful and terrified. But directing a traumatized child to play a traumatized emperor proved impossible. Bertolucci needed Vu to cry on command, show fear, confusion, loss. Vu didn't understand. He was 3. So Bertolucci did something controversial. He scared him, deliberately. Before emotional scenes, Bertolucci would have crew members create chaos, loud noises, sudden movements, frightening the child into genuine tears. Vu's parents were on set but didn't intervene. They'd signed contracts, needed the money, trusted the process. But watching their son terrified for cameras clearly hurt them. Between takes, they'd comfort him, promise it was over soon. Then Bertolucci would call for another take, and the fear would begin again. Child welfare advocates later criticized the methods. Bertolucci defended them. The performance was extraordinary, he argued. Vu's fear was real, therefore truthful, and truth matters more than comfort. Vu doesn't remember filming. He was too young, but his parents never let him act again. One film was enough. The money helped their family, but the cost was watching their child's innocence used as raw material. Years later, Vu saw the film. He didn't recognize himself. That frightened little emperor was a stranger, and maybe that's fitting, because Puyi spent his life not recognizing himself either, always performing, always afraid, always lost. Number 17. The 9 Oscars that made history.
Before I do that, I just want to know, why are there no Jewish evangelists? Someone comes up going,
well, what can we say so that 1 billion people won't forget us?
Keep it short, I think.
Yeah.
Oscar night, 1988. The Last Emperor was nominated for 9 Academy Awards. Historical epics rarely sweep. They're too long, too foreign, too difficult. But that night, something unprecedented happened. The Last Emperor won every single category, all 9. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Cinematography, Best Editing, Best Original Score, Best Art Direction, Best Costume Design, Best Sound. A clean sweep. No other film had managed that since 1958. Bertolucci stood on stage, overwhelmed, clutching Oscars like a man who couldn't believe his luck, because it wasn't supposed to happen. The film was 3 hours long, subtitled, about Chinese history most Americans knew nothing about. It starred unknown Asian actors. Everything about it screamed unmarketable, but audiences responded. Critics worshipped it. The Academy couldn't ignore it. That night proved something important. Scope matters. Ambition matters. Beauty matters. The Last Emperor looked like nothing else that year. It felt epic when Hollywood was making small, and voters rewarded that courage. But here's the secret. Bertolucci almost didn't attend. He was terrified of losing, of sitting through his film's name being called repeatedly for other winners. His producer convinced him, "You have to be there," she said. "You made history." He went, and history happened. 9 Oscars, 1 night, 1 impossible film that changed what Academy voters thought possible. After that night, epic international cinema had permission to exist in Hollywood, not as novelty, but as art worthy of recognition, all because one director demanded to film inside the Forbidden City and refused to compromise. Number 16. The costume department that employed 400 people. James Acheson designed costumes for The Last Emperor, but designing wasn't enough. Everything had to be made from scratch. 1987. China didn't have warehouses of imperial costumes. They'd been destroyed during the Cultural Revolution, burned as symbols of oppression. So Acheson had to recreate an entire dynasty's wardrobe from historical paintings and photographs. He hired 400 Chinese seamstresses, tailors, and embroiderers. They worked for 18 months straight. Some costumes required techniques that hadn't been used in 70 years. Elderly craftspeople were brought out of retirement, asked to remember skills from their youth. The imperial dragon robes were nightmares of complexity. Each one required 6 months of embroidery work, thousands of hours, thousands of gold threads, multiple seamstresses going blind from the detailed work, and some costumes appeared on screen for seconds. A coronation robe worn briefly, a ceremonial outfit glimpsed in background. 6 months of work for 30 seconds of film. Acheson felt guilty constantly. All this labor, all this artistry, barely noticed by audiences. But Bertolucci insisted. Authenticity requires totality. Background costumes matter as much as foreground costumes. The camera sees everything. So, Acheson pushed his team harder. They worked through nights, through holidays, through exhaustion. Some women's hands became permanently damaged from repetitive needlework, arthritis, nerve damage, chronic pain. The cost of authenticity written on their bodies. When Acheson won his Oscar for Best Costume Design, he dedicated it to those 400 women. Most couldn't attend. They were back in China, hands still hurting, probably never seeing the film they had literally bled for. Number 15, the 3-hour cut that studios wanted destroyed.
To live here too. That is where I sat.
Who are you?
I was the emperor.
Last Emperor's first cut ran over 4 hours. Bertolucci's director's cut was longer. Studios panicked absolutely. No one will sit through 4 hours of subtitled Chinese history, they said. Cut it now. Bertolucci refused. He'd negotiated final cut in his contract specifically for this. He knew studios would interfere, demand compromises, ruin everything, so he'd protected himself legally, and now he was using that protection to defend his vision. The battle raged for months. Executives screamed. Bertolucci stayed calm. They threatened to shelve the film. He called their bluff. Eventually, a compromise. He'd trimmed to 3 hours and 43 minutes for theatrical release. But the longer cut would exist for home video. Deal. Except Bertolucci hated trimming anything. Every scene mattered. Every moment built the epic. Cutting felt like amputation. He spent weeks in editing, removing frames, not scenes, tightening shots by seconds, finding hidden time. The theatrical version is faster paced, more accessible. The extended version is more complete, more meditative. Both work, but Bertolucci always considered the longer version his real film, what he'd intended, what Puyi's story deserved. When streaming services asked which version to use, Bertolucci refused to choose. Offer both, he said. Let audiences decide how long they want to spend with The Last Emperor, because some stories can't be told quickly. Some lives can't be compressed. Some histories require time to breathe, to settle, to matter. And Puyi's life was that kind of history, worth every minute, every second, every frame Bertolucci fought to preserve. Number 14, the cinematographer who changed. How epics look.
The winner is Vittorio Storaro for The Last Emperor.
Vittorio Storaro didn't just shoot The Last Emperor, he painted it. Every frame is a composition, deliberate, gorgeous, impossible. Storaro used natural light whenever possible, letting sunlight pour through the Forbidden City's ancient windows. Golden hour filming became obsessive. The entire crew would wait hours for perfect light. Storaro refusing to shoot until conditions matched his vision. Days were lost waiting for clouds, for sun, for that specific quality of illumination. Production managers went insane. Schedules meant nothing. Budgets exploded, but Storaro didn't care. Light is character, he'd say. Light tells story. And he was right. Watch the film's color progression. Early scenes are golden, warm, innocent. Middle sections turn gray, cold, reflecting Puyi's imprisonment. Final scenes bloom with reds and greens, revolution and rebirth. That color symbolism wasn't accidental. Storaro planned it obsessively, controlled every shade, every tone. He brought custom filters from Italy. He made the crew build reflectors to bounce light specifically. During the throne room scenes, he demanded 16-hour setups for shots lasting minutes. Bertolucci supported him completely. They had worked together before, trusted each other's instincts. But cast and crew suffered, waiting endlessly while Storaro perfected shadows. John Lone would be in full costume, makeup, ready to perform. then wait 6 hours while Storaro adjusted lights by millimeters. The patience required was inhuman, but the result is unforgettable. The Last Emperor doesn't look like other films from the 80s. It looks timeless, classical, painterly. That's Storaro's obsession made visible, and it won him his 3rd Oscar for cinematography, cementing his legend as the greatest living cinematographer. Number 13. The score that almost went to someone else.
The winners are Ryuichi Sakamoto, David Byrne, and Kong Su for The Last Emperor.
Ryuichi Sakamoto wasn't supposed to compose The Last Emperor. Bertolucci wanted someone with epic credentials, someone who'd scored massive historical films. Sakamoto was a pop musician, a synthesizer artist, famous in Japan but unknown in Western film. But Bertolucci heard his music and changed his mind instantly. He heard something fresh, something that could bridge East and West, ancient and modern. Sakamoto got the job, but had no idea how to score a 3-hour historical epic. He'd never done it before. Panic set in. He brought in David Byrne from Talking Heads and Kong Su, a Chinese composer. 3 musicians from 3 continents collaborating on one impossible score. It shouldn't have worked. The creative differences were enormous. Byrne wanted experimental sounds. Kong Su wanted traditional Chinese instruments. Sakamoto wanted synthesis of everything. They fought constantly, argued about every cue, every choice. Bertolucci loved it. Creative tension produces great art, he believed. So, he let them fight, let them struggle, let them find solutions through conflict. The resulting score is unlike anything before or since. Electronic and orchestral, Eastern and Western, ancient and contemporary, all simultaneously. Some cues use traditional Chinese instruments most Western audiences had never heard. Others use synthesizers, creating otherworldly atmospheres. The main theme, simple and haunting, became iconic, and the 3 composers won the Oscar for Best Original Score, one of cinema's strangest and most beautiful collaborative achievements. Proof that the best art comes from friction, from different visions colliding until something new emerges from the wreckage. Number 12. The extras who were real prisoners.
War criminals must proceed to the main waiting room. Those caught...
For the re-education camp scenes, where Pu Yi is imprisoned and brainwashed during China's communist revolution, Bertolucci needed hundreds of extras. Political prisoners, broken men, faces showing genuine suffering. The Chinese government offered a solution. Use real prisoners, actual criminals, serving sentences, transported to set for filming. Bertolucci was uncomfortable but desperate. The government insisted. These men understand imprisonment, they said. They'll be authentic. So hundreds of real prisoners were bussed to location, dressed as political prisoners, told to look defeated. And they didn't have to act. They were defeated. Guards watched constantly, ready to intervene if anyone attempted escape. The atmosphere was tense, frightening. Cast members tried not to interact, afraid of saying something wrong, getting someone punished. John Lone found it unbearable. Playing a prisoner surrounded by actual prisoners felt like mockery. But Bertolucci saw opportunity. The fear was real. The atmosphere of oppression was genuine. He filmed it all, capturing something impossible to fake. The prisoners' faces show real despair, real resignation. When filming wrapped, they were returned to actual prisons. No thanks, no payment, just back to their cells. Years later, activists criticized the arrangement. Exploitation, they called it. Using real suffering for entertainment. Bertolucci defended it as truthful, but admitted discomfort. The line between authenticity and exploitation is thin. And filming those scenes, he crossed it, knowingly, deliberately. Because sometimes truth requires compromise. And sometimes compromise looks like complicity. The prisoners gave powerful performances, but they had no choice. And that lack of choice made everything they did both perfect and unforgivable. Number 11. Joan Chen's secret that changed everything.
Divorce. I do not want to
know what it means to be an empress. You are an empress.
Joan Chen played Wan Jung, Puyi's wife, a woman destroyed by imperial life and opium addiction. Chen was 26 during filming, playing a role that aged from teenager to middle-aged addict. The transformation required was enormous, but Chen had a secret advantage. She'd lived through China's Cultural Revolution as a child. She'd seen what political upheaval did to families, to individuals, to souls. That experience gave her access to pain other actors couldn't reach. The opium addiction scenes were brutal to film. Chen had to appear high, desperate, deteriorating. She researched addicts obsessively, watched documentaries, interviewed former users. The physical transformation was extreme. Chen lost weight deliberately, made herself look gaunt, sickly, dying. Bertolucci pushed her further. He wanted genuine breakdown on camera. So, he'd shoot the same scene repeatedly until Chen was actually crying, actually exhausted. The famous scene where Wan Jung realizes her baby has died, that wasn't acting. Chen had prepared by remembering her own losses, her own grief. When cameras rolled, she wasn't playing Wan Jung anymore. She was channeling every loss she'd ever experienced. The scream is real, the collapse is genuine, and watching it is unbearable. Chen later said those scenes damaged something inside her. She couldn't access that pain again without triggering real trauma. Playing Wan Jung meant reopening wounds she'd spent years healing. After The Last Emperor, Chen took a break from acting. She needed time to recover, to rebuild emotional walls. Because great performances require sacrifice. And Chen sacrificed parts of herself she never fully got back. That's the price of truthful acting. You give pieces of your soul, and sometimes you don't get them back. Number 10. The Forbidden City's restoration that the film paid for. When Bertolucci arrived in Beijing, the Forbidden City was crumbling. 60 years of neglect had damaged buildings, weakened structures, destroyed details. The Cultural Revolution had been particularly destructive. Red Guards had vandalized imperial symbols, seeing them as remnants of oppression. Paint was flaking, roofs were leaking, courtyards were overgrown. It was beautiful and tragic simultaneously. Bertolucci's production deal included restoration funding. He'd pay to repair any areas he filmed in, returning them to former glory. What started as practical necessity became a massive restoration project. The production hired hundreds of craftspeople, restoration experts, historians. They repaired roofs, repainted buildings, restored gardens. Months of work before filming could begin, and the Chinese government noticed. Western money was doing what they couldn't afford, preserving history. After filming wrapped, the restoration continued. The production had demonstrated methods, trained workers, proven the Forbidden City could be saved. Chinese authorities allocated more funding, continued the work. Today's pristine Forbidden City, the tourist destination millions visit, owes much of its restoration to The Last Emperor's production. Bertolucci didn't just film history, he preserved it. That legacy matters more than the film itself, because the movie will eventually be forgotten. But the Forbidden City, restored and protected, will endure for centuries. When Bertolucci died in 2018, Chinese officials acknowledged his contribution publicly. The man who filmed their history had helped save it, and that's a legacy few filmmakers can claim. He didn't just tell stories, he protected them. Number 9. The communist officials who censored daily.
You are blind.
Why do you have to spoil this day? Why?
Every morning during production, Chinese officials reviewed the previous day's footage. Every frame was scrutinized for political incorrectness, historical inaccuracy, or anything that could embarrass the government. And they found problems constantly. A scene showing Puyi sympathetically as emperor? Cut it. A moment suggesting communist re-education was brutal. Revise it. Any frame implying imperial life had value? Unacceptable. Bertolucci woke up daily to lists of required changes. Sometimes entire scenes were prohibited. He'd argue, plead, negotiate. Some battles he won through compromise. Others he lost completely. The frustration was enormous. Creative decisions became political negotiations. Artistic vision subordinate to government approval. But Bertolucci found workarounds. He'd film scenes multiple ways. One version for the censors, obvious and safe. Another version, subtle but subversive, hidden in performance or framing. The censors would approve the obvious take. Bertolucci would use the subversive one. By the time officials noticed, the film was in international distribution. Too late to change. The Chinese government was furious but trapped. Recalling the film would make them look authoritarian, prove critics right. So they stayed quiet, seething privately. Bertolucci had outmaneuvered them. Years later, he admitted the deception proudly. "They tried to control my film," he said. "I pretended to comply, then did what I wanted. That's not collaboration, that's resistance." The Last Emperor you see isn't the film China approved. It's the film Bertolucci smuggled past censors frame by frame. A rebellion hidden inside an epic, and nobody could stop it once it existed. Number 8. The tutor who taught real history.
Your Imperial Highness, the new tutor. Mr. Reginald Fleming Johnston.
Who is this George Washington?
Famous American.
Reginald Fleming Johnston, Puyi's British tutor, was played by Peter O'Toole, and O'Toole prepared obsessively. He read Johnston's actual memoirs, studied photographs, interviewed historians who'd researched the man. Johnston was complicated, brilliant, troubled. He believed in empire, in tradition, in hierarchy. But he also loved Puyi genuinely, tried to protect him from forces destroying his world. That contradiction fascinated O'Toole. He wanted to play Johnston as tragic, not villainous. A man watching history crush someone he cared about, powerless to stop it. But Bertolucci had different ideas. He saw Johnston as colonizer, exploiter, someone benefiting from imperialism while pretending to be friend. The two argued constantly about interpretation. O'Toole wanted sympathy. Bertolucci wanted critique. Finally, they compromised. O'Toole would play Johnston with complexity, loving but blind, helpful but complicit. The result is one of the film's most interesting relationships. Johnston teaches Puyi about the outside world, gives him glimpses of freedom, but he's also keeping Puyi isolated, protecting an imperial system that's already dead. When Johnston leaves, Puyi loses his last connection to someone who saw him as human, not symbol. O'Toole played that departure with devastating quiet. No speeches, no drama, just a man walking away from someone he'd failed to save. Critics barely noticed the performance. Too subtle, too internal. But O'Toole considered it some of his best work. Not showy, just truthful. And truth, he believed, mattered more than recognition, even when nobody noticed. Number 7. The director's cut that took 20 years.
So the improvisation gives me the feeling that something can happen that one didn't prepare, and this is the best that can happen during
Is this one of the things?
When The Last Emperor hit theaters, Bertolucci was already planning a longer version. He'd shot enough footage for 5 hours, maybe 6. The theatrical cut had compromised his vision. But VHS and Laserdisc allowed restoration possibilities. In 1998, Bertolucci released the director's cut, 30 minutes longer, with restored scenes showing Puyi's complexity, his failures, his humanity. The extended version changes the film fundamentally. It's slower, more meditative, more honest. The theatrical version is streamlined epic. The director's cut is character study. Both work, but differently. Bertolucci preferred the longer version always. "This is the real film," he'd say. "This is what I intended." But many fans disagree. They find the extended version too slow, too indulgent. The debate continues decades later. Which version is definitive? Which tells the story better? Bertolucci refused to choose. "Both are my film," he said. "Watch what you prefer." That generosity is rare, Most directors insist their cut is only truth. Bertolucci acknowledged multiple truths could coexist. The Last Emperor as epic adventure, The Last Emperor as intimate tragedy. Both valid, both valuable. When Criterion released the film, they included both versions. Let audiences decide. And audiences remain divided. Some prefer the theatrical cut's pace. Others cherish the director's cut's depth. There's no wrong answer, just different experiences of the same history. And maybe that's fitting, because Puyi's life was interpreted differently by everyone who witnessed it. Emperor, prisoner, gardener, citizen, all true, all incomplete. The film, like the man, resists single definition, and that's its genius. Number 6. The Last Emperor's final words. Nobody heard. John Lone spent months researching Puyi's final years as a gardener, living humbly after release from prison. The man who'd been emperor became nobody, working with plants, finding peace in anonymity. Bertolucci wanted to film Puyi's actual death, his final moments, but test audiences found it too depressing. An epic film ending with quiet death felt anticlimactic. So Bertolucci changed it. The final scene shows young Puyi discovering a cricket, symbol of good luck and freedom hidden under the throne. It's beautiful, poetic, hopeful, completely fictional. The real Puyi died of kidney cancer in 1967, alone in a hospital bed. No poetry, no symbolism, just death. Bertolucci filmed that version first. Lone played it perfectly, Puyi's final breath subtle and resigned. But watching it felt wrong. The audience had spent 3 hours with this man. They needed closure that felt meaningful, not just real. So Bertolucci invented the cricket scene, shot it last. Knew it betrayed historical truth, but emotional truth mattered more. The cricket represents what Puyi never found in life, freedom. Giving him that symbol, even fictionally, even posthumously, felt right. When the film premiered, historians criticized the ending. Inaccurate, they said. Sentimental manipulation. Bertolucci agreed completely. But I'm not making documentary, he argued. I'm making poetry. And poets are allowed lies that reveal deeper truths. The cricket scene is false. But it's true to who Puyi might have been, could have been, deserved to be. And sometimes mercy matters more than accuracy. Even in history. Especially in history. Number 5. The budget that destroyed 2 studios.
Give it to me.
The Last Emperor cost $25 million. In 1986, that was insane for an art film. Hemdale and Columbia Pictures co-financed, splitting costs and risks. Both nearly went bankrupt. Production overruns were constant. Filming in China was expensive and unpredictable. Permissions changed daily, locations became unavailable, equipment broke, weather destroyed schedules. Every delay cost thousands. Hemdale particularly struggled. They'd invested in The Last Emperor believing it would be a modest art house success. Instead, it became money pit, consuming resources, demanding more. The company mortgaged everything, borrowed extensively, gambled their entire future on Bertolucci's vision. When the film finally wrapped, Hemdale was broke. They couldn't afford marketing. Columbia had to handle distribution alone. And then Oscar nominations arrived. 9 nominations. Suddenly everyone wanted to see the film. Box office exploded. The Last Emperor made $80 million worldwide. Hemdale's gamble paid off. Barely. But the stress had damaged the company permanently. Within 5 years, Hemdale collapsed, sold assets, disappeared. The Last Emperor helped kill the company that made it. That's the cost of ambitious filmmaking. You risk everything for art. Sometimes you win Oscars, sometimes you lose your company. Hemdale got both. 9 golden statues and bankruptcy. Was it worth it? Ask 10 people, get 10 answers. But the film exists, preserved, celebrated, timeless. And Hemdale, the studio that believed in it when nobody else would, is forgotten. That's the tragedy and triumph of cinema. The art survives, the artists don't always. But someone has to take the risk. Someone has to believe impossible things and pay the price when impossible becomes real. Number 4. The Cultural Revolution's survivors who helped film. Many Chinese crew members had lived through the Cultural Revolution personally. The violence, the re-education camps, the systematic destruction of history. These weren't abstract concepts. They were memories, trauma, lived experience. And now they were filming scenes recreating that trauma. Some crew members broke down between takes. Seeing those camps rebuilt, those rituals reenacted, brought everything back. Psychological wounds reopened. But they continued working because telling this story mattered. Younger generations needed to understand what happened. The world needed to witness China's history, the brutal and the beautiful. One cinematographer had been sent to a real re-education camp as a teenager. His crime? Owning books. He'd spent 5 years there, lost his youth, barely survived. When Bertolucci asked him to shoot the camp scenes, he almost refused. Too painful, too close. But he did it, and his camera captured something no outsider could. The angles, the framing, the way he filmed faces, it showed intimate knowledge of that suffering, because he'd lived it. His footage made those scenes unbearable to watch, and that was necessary. Sanitizing history is betrayal. The truth had to hurt. Another crew member had watched his parents beaten by Red Guards for being intellectuals. When filming the violence against Puyi, he had flashbacks, panic attacks. But he stayed, because someone who remembered had to be there, bearing witness, ensuring accuracy. These crew members were heroes. They transformed trauma into art, pain into preservation, and nobody knows their names. They are uncredited, unseen, unremembered. But without them, The Last Emperor would be different, less true, less painful, less necessary. Number 3. The relationship between Bertolucci and Puyi's widow. Li Shuxian, Puyi's widow, was alive during production. She was Puyi's 5th wife, a hospital nurse who married him in 1962, 5 years before his death. She was the only wife who truly knew him, not as emperor, but as man. Bertolucci requested meetings. She agreed reluctantly. Their conversations were difficult. Li had loved Puyi deeply, protected his memory fiercely. Seeing his life turned into Western entertainment disturbed her. But Bertolucci convinced her he wanted truth, not spectacle. He promised to honor Puyi's complexity, show his humanity, not just his title. Slowly, Li opened up. She shared stories never told publicly. Puyi's sense of humor, his love of gardening, his lingering sadness about his wasted life. She showed Bertolucci photographs, letters, intimate details. Bertolucci used everything she gave him. Some scenes in the film come directly from Li's memories. The quiet moments, Puyi tending plants, finding small pleasures, those are from her stories. When Li finally saw the film, she cried through most of it, not from sadness, from recognition. She saw her husband on screen, the man she'd known, not the emperor everyone mythologized. After the premiere, she thanked Bertolucci personally. "You understood him," she said. "You showed the world who he really was." That validation meant more than 9 Oscars, because Li was the only person whose opinion truly mattered. She'd loved Puyi when he was nothing, and Bertolucci had honored that love by showing that nothing was actually everything, the man behind the myth, the human under the crown, the gardener who'd once been emperor but preferred the flowers. Number 2, John Lone's method. That went too far. John Lone didn't break character for months. On set, off set, in hotels, at meals, everywhere. He was Puyi constantly, speaking carefully, moving imperially, maintaining distance. Cast members found it disturbing. Between takes, they'd try to chat, be friendly. Lone would stare blankly, not recognizing their humor, their humanity. He'd become someone else entirely. The commitment was extraordinary and frightening, Bertolucci supported it initially. Method acting produces great performances, he believed. But as months passed, he grew concerned. Lone was disappearing inside the role, losing himself. During emotional scenes, Lone would stay in character for hours afterward, unable to snap back, lost in Puyi's trauma, his isolation, his despair. One night, Lone didn't return to his hotel. Crew members searched for hours, finally finding him sitting alone in the Forbidden City, in the throne room, staring at nothing. He looked broken, barely present. When they asked if he was okay, he didn't respond, just kept staring. Eventually, he spoke. "I understand him now," he said. He was already dead before he died. That moment terrified everyone, because Lone wasn't talking about Puyi. He was talking about himself. The production brought in a therapist, convinced Lone to take breaks, leave the palace, remember who he was outside the role. Slowly, he recovered, but the performance cost him something permanent. After The Last Emperor, Lone worked less, chose roles carefully, never went that deep again, because he'd learned the danger of losing yourself in someone else. And that lesson, painful as it was, probably saved his life. Some roles kill you if you let them, and Lone had let Puyi almost kill him. Number 1. The film that changed China's view of its own history. Before The Last Emperor, China rarely discussed Puyi honestly. He was either imperial villain or communist victim, depending on political needs. Nuance didn't exist, but Bertolucci's film showed him as human, complex, flawed, tragic. Not hero or monster, just a man destroyed by circumstances beyond his control. When the film released in China, reaction was shock. This wasn't propaganda. This wasn't condemnation. This was empathy. Younger generations saw their history portrayed honestly for the first time. The imperial system's cruelty, the communist revolution's brutality, both true, both part of their heritage, neither simplified. The government tried to control the narrative, but couldn't. The film was too powerful, too international, too celebrated. Chinese citizens watched bootleg copies, discussed it privately, began questioning official histories. Puyi became human again, after decades of being symbol, and that humanity changed everything. The Forbidden City saw increased tourism, but visitors came with different attitudes, not just to see imperial glory, but to understand tragedy, to connect with Puyi's story, to feel something. In 2006, China released its own biopic of Puyi, and it followed Bertolucci's template, showing complexity, admitting ambiguity. That would have been impossible before 1987. Bertolucci didn't just make a film. He changed how a nation remembered its past, how it taught its children, how it understood itself. That's cinema's greatest power. Not entertaining, transforming, not showing, revealing, not recording history, reshaping it. And The Last Emperor reshaped an empire's history, showing the world and China itself that emperors were human, that victims were complex, that history is never simple, and that truth, even painful truth, even complicated truth, matters more than comfortable myths. Always. The Last Emperor didn't just film the Forbidden City. It opened doors nobody thought could open, told stories nobody thought could be told, because some stories change how we see everything.